Uranium friends, nuclear friends, checking in on the space with the fuel fabricators and the plant builders and these accessory guys. So we'll start out with nukes, the exchange, the ETF. Not the most amount of data that I can deal with, so monthly is going to be hard to really make an assessment. But we can garner some some reads here on the weekly with nukes, right? So fairly young ETF, great move. Weekly uptrend still intact, and which doesn't get lost until we lose this level. It's just, what is it, 40, 40, 44, whatever it is, right? What is it? 40.36, it looks like to be. Yeah, 40.36 is going to be the line in the sand on this bad boy. So can't really say what the behavior is yet, even on these moving averages, other than the fact that it's lost its moving average stack and they're starting to curl down. You could say that there's a possibility of a weekly head and shoulders, seems to be a theme on the longer term time frames, right? In the sector, certainly in the uranium sector. I haven't gone over any of the other names, so we'll see what they look like as we go through this now. But Nukes is looking fine right now, still in a weekly uptrend, and some good buying this week at an interesting level of support, right? So what's the daily look like? The daily high is set for now with a double bottom from January 13th. This is a precise double bottom, 41.84. What's this? 41.85. So double bottom basically to the penny. So this is becoming, an important level. It makes sense, right? There's even some interactions in here with that level. So, but it's lost all of its moving averages. It's going to have to do the same thing. It's hard to look at this. It's harder to look at these lower time frames in this ETF because it doesn't have the liquidity of a lot of regular names. But this is it's a good ETF. I like it. I do not own it. Um, at the moment, I do not own anything on it. Eventually that might change. So let's look at some of the constituents. So we're still in a weekly uptrend. That's the most important thing. It's lost its weekly 12 EMA. It's lost the 50-day moving average. We're starting to see a little bit of buying pressure. Is there any volume to say anything here? Not really. Nothing special about that. All right, but that's nukes. It's different. So ASPI, they released their earnings today, and I think there was some good stuff in there. Obviously, the market liked it, and I'll just leave it at that, right? So great day today for ASPI. But if you're an ASPI player, you know that it could give it right back. I am one of those players. I know that. Again, I don't own any ASPI right now except some long dated calls, but nothing crazy. All right, I've made some decent money on this name, but this looks like a pretty good reversal. I just have to see if it holds. We need follow through now, right? So the monthly has confirmed. Well, it hasn't even confirmed. I'm sorry, the weekly. The weekly high, low, lower high, double bottom. So we're looking at a double bottom here too, right at $4. And I think I tweeted it today. Too much interaction here at $4 as support to say that, okay, $4 is not an important level. No, it is. It's an important level. That's got to hold, and it's been holding. It's also the 200-day moving average. It's also the weekly 50 EMA. So it's a spot. It's a spot to hold, right? But this is all sideways chop. So we're gonna have to break out of that somehow, and it's a pretty decent slog to break out of that. I'm gonna kill these fibs for now. All right, so that's the deal. Good day today on good news on a good earnings report. If you don't follow that guy Christoph on Twitter, I would say that you do because he's all over the nuclear tech and valuable resource. I would follow that guy if you're interested in nuclear tech. I know that the newsletter writers aren't because they just want to focus on what they're focusing on, and there's nothing wrong with that. But these companies, all these nuclear tech companies, they're on higher exchanges. They have option chains. They have liquidity. They're going to perform well if nuclear in general is performing well. The good thing is now for traders, for swing traders, you, there's a possibility of rotational playing for the next couple of years, right? So money leaves uranium and goes into nuclear tech. Nuclear tech gets overbought while uranium starts to shit the bed like it's happening now. Maybe money rotates out of nuclear tech back into the miners. And maybe twice a year, this is what happens, or once a year, this is what happens on a semi annual basis, recognizing those shifts is where money's at, right? So, sideways action, $4 has got to hold. And I'll just tell you right now, that's got to break, all right, to get out of this range. All right, so the range, there's nothing happening here right now. Nothing. Right? It's tough to even make plays on this. The lower risk play is to go long because we're at the bottom of the range. Um, you're wrong if $4 breaks down. Wouldn't be surprised to let that undercut thing happen because that's what the algos do to the retail player. So, I mean, you could technically say it broke this little level here, this 417, right? But $4 is really just it's the spot. It's just that simple on ASPI, and I would leave it at that. BWXT. So this has been a little bit of a dog, but it's not anything different than what BWXT does, right? So in order to reset this name, look, this is an extremely insanely bullish monthly chart. These guys have got the naval contracts. There's a lot going on in this company. It's probably a good anchor stock for a portfolio, but there is some stuff that we need to be aware of, right? So it has lost a lot of its metrics. I mean, it's there, it's holding. So again, with the rider, as I've said 1,000 times, look at the ride that this thing has taken on the monthly chart. It is a monthly 12 EMA 200-day moving average rider forever since April of 2022. So, yes, these moving averages are really stretched out at this point, and a lot of times they like to reconcile just as they've done here. So, there could be a brutal move in the works here on BWXT. I can't say that there won't be because just the way that these averages are stretched off makes you say that maybe. So as long as it holds, all right. It did. Listen. BWXT is just doing the same exact thing. I guess these fractal players will look at this way. To me, it's just look. It's a moving average ride for years. This thing was riding this moving average slog. Uh, Monthly 12 EMA 200-day moving average early March of 2015 all the way until September of 2018. Right? 3.5 years. Okay. Where did it start here? Let's just say September 2022. Where are we now? February 2025. 3.5 years. And it looks like there's a chance that it breaks this ride again. And look how stretched these moving averages are. Look how stretched they are now. So caution on BWXT, regardless of the business model itself and how successful it is. It's precarious here. I'm not going to say anything else about that. So I would be aware of that dynamic. We just need some sort of trend change to happen, and it's not, right? So weekly downtrend confirmed with follow through. The dividend is coming up in 2 weeks. 11 cents. Who cares? 11 cents on a $100 stock. So, yeah, we got to get a bounce going to save itself here. Otherwise, problem. So, what's happened here? All right. So, your first warning sign has occurred to say that maybe this deal is going to happen again. which could be a 50, which could we could get a 50% haircut out of here based upon this stuff. I have no idea if it's going to happen, but now it's using the 200-day as resistance. I want to see if it did the same type of deal on this weekly here. Yeah, we could see it on here. Yeah, I mean, maybe you get that one relief bounce before it breaks down. We'll see. I'm not saying it's going to do it, but things look very, very similar. And for BWXT, a long-term investor, I mean, this is an investable company. It takes a 50% haircut. Um, it's probably like buy it hand over fist if that happens. I don't know. But that's the deal. The other thing is, you got your weekly, actually have your weekly Head and Shoulders that is confirming, right? So one could say, let's just say that's probably the neckline, right? There's your head. There's your right shoulder. This is your neckline. It broke, right? So if we do the math, I can't believe I have to do math on the fly here. On video, 111, let's just say 111 to 135, that's $26. Gets you down into this area, right? Into this 85 area. I mean, that would be some undercut, man. And that would fulfill a lot of promises. It would fulfill a lot of the previous action look, right? So BWXT, even though the company's great, it's going to need to save itself. I did tweet that very recently. The chart needs to save itself. Not going to lie. Weekly Head and Shoulders looking at confirming at least. And now let's see how much follow through we get. Do not be surprised if it comes down here. And I'm a buyer down here. I would say I'm a buyer down there. That's BWXT. LEU. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this whole Russian thing. Right? So LEU is looking pretty good, right? So it's got a pretty bullish move. Got the first pump, got the consolidation, got the second pump. Just got to see where it goes from here. I did take a very small position today on this, and it's a trade. I know enough not to be heavy duty in LEU because it can be a nasty ticker and it can rip your face off in both directions. But again, this low is set. So working off of 85. What is the low? Yeah, 85. Guess one could say if you really want to give it some room, you're working off of this base, right? So relief bounce maybe back down into this base. We'll see. LEU though looks great. Could still have a long way to go. All right, I don't, I'm sure there's a bunch of dilution that changes these price metrics, but lifetime box in the value area, it's trading above it and using it as support. Monthly 12 EMA ride. So it's LEU looks fine. As long as, well, truly as long as $70, $69 holds. So LEU looks good. Russian news of some sort of resolution with the Ukraine war. Does that open up enriched uranium for us to be able to start using again? We'll see. So this has some geopolitical ramifications. The whole Russian ban thing was meaningless. We know that. All right. LTBR MOU with OKLO. They've been trading in lockstep. LTBR, and I said this a while ago, the chart is starting to change. It's just got to get through all of this, right? So 13, 14, $15. If it gets through that, it's a change in the chart. It's already a little bit of a change in the chart. You're finally getting this curl up in these moving averages. I mean, this thing was riding down since, I don't know, for 20 years, right? And it's finally starting to change. So as much as people don't even pay attention to the stock, I would be paying attention to it as a long-term play because the long-term chart is changing. It's trying to change. It's absolutely trying to change. It hasn't shown fully that it's changed, but it's trying. So I know I'm paying attention to this name more so than I ever have, and I'm just going to take it from there. It's in lockstep with OKLO. So as OKLO goes, Lightbridge goes. I've posted this multiple times. Redstone Macro, another guy who's picked that up on that. Once they did their MOU, they trade in lockstep. So, you're looking at Lightbridge, you should be looking at OKLO. You're looking at OKLO, you should be looking at Lightbridge. They're trading in lockstep. So Lightbridge again, everything today. Yesterday's lows are set for now in the majority of the nuclear sector and the uranium sector. It just is a question of whether the general market's going to hold up, and is this a good bounce? These are the futures: S&P 500, Nasdaq, Russell, Dow. So they're going to need to get up and over all this garbage that they've been going through here too. So even if you look at the dailies, um, this is all sideways stuff. So it's going to have something's going to happen either has to happen either way, and it's looking like more so that there's a chance that this breaks before it comes to test there. But we don't know anything. So the uranium sector, the nuclear sector, is not immune to broad market issues. It's immune to big run-ups, but it's not immune to the dumps. So that's LTBR. If you're looking at LTBR, you should be looking at OKLO. And in my opinion, this chart is trying to change. And the change could result in a pretty good long-term investment play. The only problem for me is that there's no dividends. So why am I going to hold this thing when I know I can capture these swings? But regardless of that, Lightbridge is changing, and we're seeing it in real time. Let's hope it just continues. Nano, another new player on the scene. Disappointing. It had a good setup back here, but it lost it, and that's okay. It's normal. This is why we use stop loss orders. Um, do with that as you will. So this is still in a weekly uptrend. Let's look at the monthly. Not that there's enough to really look at here. So yeah, I mean it is a monthly uptrend with no follow through, right? So from since it went started, low, high, higher low, higher high, no follow through. As it stands right now, this is a monthly inside bar, which means chop-a-rama until it resolves. Where will we see it resolve? Probably on the daily first. Daily's got a long way to go. Expect rejections. Low, the highs, the lows are set. OKLO, tradable name, very tradable name, lots of liquidity. Sam Altman, uh, good name. It's a good trader, probably the better trader of all of them, including SMR. So weekly, just these are hammers. It's a hammer. It's the week's not over yet. Double bottom here, so bulls have a good spot to be working off of, and it's really at the top of this value area that I have defined in the short life of this stock, right? But this is truly the value area. The volume profile proves it, right? If it loses this value area, then we could start saying, oh, maybe it's going to come down into here. But regardless of that, weekly uptrend still intact, weekly consolidation in effect. What's the daily look like? Nowhere near to oversold. Nice little bounce here. Could be the start of a reversal. Probably expecting rejection somewhere around the 12 EMA. I don't even have to look at charts anymore. I could pretty much tell you what the same script I'm going to be talking about makes enough room to make a higher low, and changes its trend on a daily. These are the things that we're looking for in most of the space: uranium and nuclear. Um, that's what I'm looking for. So we'll see on OKLO. This is one that you can mess around with the um, smaller time frames. There's enough liquidity. There's enough people trading this name and swinging it and whatever. to say, okay, we can look at shorter time frames and see what's going on, much like CCJ, right? So it's going to be looking for a 4-hour high low. It's just I'm going to keep saying the same thing over and over until there's something different. Like there is something different, really, with BWXT, to be quite honest with you. Moving on to SMR, another short life, not enough data. My favorite parts of this stock. If you know, you know. Regardless of that, monthly is, it's showing sellers is basically what it's doing. It's expanding its range a little bit to the downside. Not the best look. All right, but for all intents and purposes, the support is holding around 17, 18 bucks, and that's what's most important right now is the support. Not much to glean from the monthly other than the fact that this is a bull flag. Even if you take it from the low, it's a bull flag. It's a 23% retracement so far of this move from this low to this high. There will be some who take pivots here. So let's take the pivot from here and see if it's still a bull flag. It is because it's holding the 382 retracement. So on both pivots, on both metrics, we're still in bull flag territory. Nice look on the monthly. Monthly 12 EMA, 200-day moving average, acting as support, and that is also basically the 50% retracement there. So, but it's still, it's holding for now. Big support break. Of course, you're going to get some drops on there. Let's just see what the daily looks like on the support break. Nothing crazy. I mean, a lot of people stopped out up here, including me, because I didn't like the way the action was. I gave it a shot. It didn't take this high out. It's when these stops come into play, and then you see the waterfall, right? So, and then of course, additional. Maybe somebody kept a little room here below this, but additional stops. Obviously, you're going to start hitting here. So, but people, there will be traders who don't really sell out their stops in these. It's not even oversold, but historical RSI, it's in the spot where you can say, all right, there's a possibility that it bounces here. I'm going to wait for the bounce to get out. So, and as I've tweeted right now, it's sell the rips. It's not buy the dips, it's sell the rips. This is what shorts are looking to do. And anybody, bag holders that are trying to minimize damage, usually wait for a bounce so they can get out or maybe be able to hold on. So, you might get a bounce that occurs. And as long as it just keeps going for these guys, they're going to hold, right? And then it might, if it gives them enough room to hold this bottom, they might hang on to see if they can get that daily trend change. We'll see. That's the mindset of the trader. But the weekly has confirmed the downtrend with no follow through. So we're gonna have to see what happens really next week. But this is the spot for moving averages where one would say it should bounce, and it has. It's just a matter of does the bounce hold as these moving averages are starting to curl down. Um, Neutral on this name. I don't have a true good read on it. I would need more price action to be able to make a determination, right? BWXT is raising some red flags for me. I will say that, which up until today, looking at this video, this is part of the reason why I do these videos, is because it keeps me in touch with these charts so I can pick things up, right? So this is new to me. I picked this up while I was doing this video. I picked up this change and then I dug a little deeper because multiple time frame analysis is a thing. And once I dug a little deeper and saw this get lost, I said, you know what? There's a red flag coming out in BWXT because this is a behavioral change as far as trend and moving averages are concerned. Those who are really truly protective should be out by now. Those who are just hoping that this is an undercut, well, they're going to find out fairly soon. Takes out this weekly high next week, or even this week. That would be a good sign. right? So I know that there's call buying in this thing and some multiple strikes. So um, that's the builders. That's the enrichers. Devil over out.